Into the Nexus is a production of amove.tv. Bookmark Amove TV for other great video games and esports podcasts. Into the Nexus is sponsored by listeners like you via patreon.com/ITN. Greetings, welcome back, and Happy New Year, everyone. This is Into the Nexus, the podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. I'm Garrett Weinzierl, he's Kyle Fergusson, and we're back. We're back! It feels like I took a really big break, Kyle, but this is actually the only show that just kept doing its normal schedule. We didn't really mess with anything other than recording a little early last week.
It's good to be back. All my friends are coming back to Heroes, shaking off the dust, the cobwebs. I certainly can't blame anyone for not wanting to lose over the holidays. You know, it's nice to get your campaigns out of the way.
Yeah.
Play those things that maybe rotted on the shelf a little bit.
I was gifted by my lovely wife a copy of the new Spider-Man game for PS4.
Nice.
And you know what I did over this holiday break, Kyle? I just tied myself to the couch and played basically only that and a little bit of Heroes.
I have been working hard to get rid of a sore point in the relationship with my wife by playing Dragon Age, because I never beat it. And every time we talk about how great Dragon Age is, I am reminded that I never defeated that game.
I did that with Inquisition. It's the only Dragon Age I played, but I never beat it.
You could still be good if you didn't beat it. I'm just saying, I killed Wynn. I didn't know she was a healer. Healers were required. It was 2009. You know, we hadn't quite established our support tank healer in other games. That was a thing that happened in World of Warcraft, but we hadn't digested it in every single RPG.
Yeah, well, something about Inquisition, I just kind of petered off. Yeah, you know what it was? It was The Witcher 3. I think that's what happened.
That's fair. That's fair.
The Witcher 3 is what happened there. Yeah, but when we spoke last week, I had just come off of the worst losing streak I think I had all year, being 2018. And I'm happy to report it's over. The losing streak is over, and I believe I mentioned on the episode last week that I was dialing in 6 heroes, 2 supports, 2 warriors, and 2 damage dealers, and it worked. It just totally worked. It's fine. I'm back to normal. Apparently, Uther is like riding a bike.
Sure.
You never forget. If you were once good at Uther, I've got news for you, everybody. You're still good at Uther.
Let me tell you something about not skill shotting. You probably click a lot in your daily life. You don't go, I want to click that link. Oh, I missed. Darn it, I was scrolling through Twitter too fast. I couldn't click the link. Right-clicking things is pretty darn easy. And it doesn't exactly leave you. Now, things like Jaina, and then you go over to another skill shot like Orphea. Oh, they're different sizes. They're different lengths. I'm missing. I need to get readjusted to this. You never lose Uther.
No, you don't. Also, I've come to the realization that I think Anubarak is just my main. It wasn't. So when I sat down and wrote out my new list of heroes to play when I don't want to lose, Anubarak made the list. But he made the list because of what happened before that was, for some reason, I just ended up playing Anubarak with no goal to do so or practice to become proficient at. But I noticed that I had a really high win rate on the old bug.
Yes, yeah.
And so now he's just there. I just keep picking him and winning games with him.
He's kind of a big deal. He doesn't really inform a comp. You're probably going to have a bruiser. It's tough being tank when ETC has been struggling for such a long time. Anubarak has so much more responsive power, the ability to go through walls at level 1 rather than have to take Crowd Surfer, and investing into that sort of play style. You don't displace, you hold things still. There's a lot to really like about Anubarak, and even last week we talked a little about him in my abhorrent love for Beetle build. And I do agree, everyone out there. In fact, I had some people jumping my games this week, and they're like, Kyle, I'm going to play a new Brack, and you watch my build. I'm going to try to convert you. And, your build's ugly. What can I say? There's a reason why we have fire mages, because we all picked the fire towns, and Blizzard went, all right, we'll put you select fire, we'll give you all the fire pictures, because we all lose our minds. It's a hideous build. You got Regeneration Master, it's green, it's leaf, what the heck? And then Beta Barb's, okay, we're getting a little back on form. What Subterranean Shield? But that doesn't look like any of the previous pictures.
Yeah, which is what I do, the boring, most picked, highest win rate build, which is not a pretty build. But it just works. What it comes down to, it's the damn shield, man. We get the resets on the shield. The shield starts doing damage. You get more shields more often. I love it.
Oh, boosting around at that 40% speed. It's a shame that Li Ming isn't played a lot during Anubarak's heyday right now, because it's such a joy. And granted, if Li Ming is played, it's done with Wave of Force, not Disintegrate, but Disintegrate just going over your shield, doing no damage at all, and just resetting you like crazy.
Yeah.
It's good time. Wait, hey, there's a hero that is going to do periodic spell damage that might reset some shields coming out.
Yeah, he might. I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen.
I think Anubarak's going to be just fine moving forward.
And frankly, I mean, there's enough Jaina, there's enough Kael'thas in my world right now that it's totally fine. I feel like every time I play with you, we end up in quick match, which means just Tassadar everywhere. So you know what I did? I just stand in the storm on purpose, and it's wonderful.
Yeah.
So yeah, just having a good old time with Anubarak, and then just playing my mages, playing my Jaina, playing my KT, and Kael'thas, because I always forget I need to specify now. Even though it's been over a year, I think. But it's working. It's working out well. Any changes on the tides for you?
Got back in Hero League this past weekend and been doing a lot of support there. Not a lot of people want to play support, but I am being comboed with Plat for reasons, because they're pulling, I'm in low diamond, so they're grabbing up because they can't grab above or grab at my league. So they're getting the queue times together. And that's been a lot of fun, because it's really impactful. No one wants to play support in Plat because they're all on the edge of diamond, and everyone wants to carry, and you can have so much of an impact playing a decent support. So lots of Stukov. I love the guy. What can I say? Outside of that, it's been Rainer. It's been a Rainer fiesta.
Back on your old climbing buddy.
Yeah, the old rank 1 2014. And
I remember that. We spent many weeks on this show giving tips of how to climb by just learning how to stutter step.
Those were the good days. Simple mechanics.
Things were simple back then, Kyle.
Paving the way. There was no bans. There was no mobility.
But it's fine. I think, and I feel like you're on the same page. Things are becoming simpler to understand in Heroes, and we'll get more into that when we get into our strategy segment later today. But there's big news on the horizon, Kyle. There's big news because it's a new hero. So let's get into what's new in the world of Heroes of the Storm.
We're on, boys! Ha ha! Let's liven up this place!
Point me to the stage.
Stay a while and listen.
So, not quite as bad as I thought it was going to be. So last week on the show, we were like, hey, you know what's going to happen? We're going to wrap this show up, and immediately upon completion, the next hero is going to be announced. It was the next day, Kyle. We got like a good 16 hours, I think.
Yeah, we were right, though. I mean, we did call it.
I mean, you brought it up, as well as...
That's how the internet works, Garrett. You make a whole list, and if it's somewhere in there, you're right. You take credit and you run.
Yes. That being said, I believe Imperius has been called for every single time a new hero has been on the horizon, but we didn't know what it was.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Fan favorite, Imperius, which I don't understand why I feel like he's the Boba Fett of Diablo 3. Like, he looks really cool, doesn't do anything, gets nothing done, just gets his ass handed to him by Diablo, and then is essentially a doorman at the end of the game.
He just does a lot of cool stuff on your screen, and he's mysterious and awesome, and we all kind of like that guy. I mean, think of, we were talking about RPGs. There's always that badass you meet, hi, I'm the Spectre, and then he dies, and you're like, oh, at least he was cool. They throw it in
Yeah.
there. Your Qui-Gon Jinns, he lasted a whole movie. But still, you remember them well.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I mean, I don't know. I feel like we were doing a show called This Week in Blizz, I think, leading up to the launch of Diablo 3. And I remember seeing the trailer, and the Imperius was in the trailer, and I was just like, dude, that angel looks so cool. And again, it's Boba Fett syndrome. Looks really cool. Doesn't have a huge role to play.
I think that's a great way to put it. And much like Boba Fett, anytime they're like, we're going to explore his backstory, I'm like, no,
don't.
We've been down this road with aliens. I don't need, just more aliens. Like to increase the numbers. I don't care. Make them fight predators. I'm on board. But let's not explore where they're from, why they are, who they were before they became Imperius. Let's just let them be.
Yeah, because whatever's in my head is way cooler than what you're actually going to show me.
Yeah. That being said, there were some very strong requirements for Imperius. He had to do something from the heavens, some sort of slam, because we all remember going our way to the Pandemonium Fortress and him slamming down and taking care of business. He
needed to not walk.
Yes.
Which I'm very glad they have delivered on that.
Well, he's got a good swagger. Like he sits proud. You would not want to be on the subway with this man because he is spread eagle upon his mount.
It's thick armor, Kyle.
It's dominating.
It's very thick armor. His walk cycle is fantastic. Kudos to the animators operating on the Heroes team. Just looks great. This just makes me want Arthas to just get a little shine up in his visuals. Just give him a little shine.
Yeah, he's trucking a little bit. I mean, Raynor is just dude from the outskirts of space. He kind of has the same walk as Arthas. There's no menace in it. It needs that upgrade.
Well, Raynor shouldn't have menace, but Arthas...
I agree. That's why I like it, because he's just kind of, swinging his arms, SpongeBobbing down the road. But Arthas can feel, below him the dead and raise them at will if he so chose.
Well, he's still alive in the Nexus, so, it's fine.
Yeah. We'll get there one day, man. We'll get there.
Yeah. He's like an old car. He needs his coat of wax, but Imperius is looking good. And we weren't sure if we were going to get a spotlight, but we got a spotlight the same time that the flip was switched. The switch was flipped on the PTR. So there is indeed a spotlight. And I watched the spotlight before I jumped on PTR and saw him, and I was sold immediately because dude looks like a little bit of Arthas, a little bit of Kerrigan, a little bit of Mal'Ganis. He's a lot of pieces from Heroes I already very much enjoy.
Yeah. When you try to describe his kit, you certainly end up in that strange middle space, which does beg the question of where you would take him, but that's a conversation for full release right now. Of course, PTR matchmaking, I did custom games on my own stream. They're not the most effective thing at learning what his power is, but it is worth saying he's a mana hero. He has mana. He does struggle with it in the early game, much as many of your kind of Kerrigans will. He does appear to have some solo lane powers. He is a regeneration-based bruiser. And you can put his health right in between Dahak and Asmodan. It's up there. We're talking in the top 15 heroes.
Yeah, it's solid. As far as auto attack, he lands between Zeratul and Cassia.
So pretty good. Pretty slow though.
It is extremely slow. In line with heroes like Rag and Garrosh. So
unaided, unchanged, you're gonna feel a little Garroshy in there. You got the sweet spear, but it's not gonna do much unless you're comboing things up for it.
I'm glad you bring up the spear because I like the range on his basic attacks. It's the same as Kerrigan and Leoric, which Leoric probably a better example because of the attack speed, but I dig it. I like that he doesn't have to get right in your face to land a hit.
Well, and the great thing about Leoric in that case, and Kerrigan as well, is that Leoric does his entomb. Maybe there's a tank in front, but you really want that guy behind the tank, and you can reach over the top of him. So Imperius able to reach beyond the frontline tank and get to that target on the other side and interact with people from a side approach if they were to be entombed in.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I want to do something a little bit different, talking about his abilities here. I want to save the trait for the end, because I think that's where it gets the most complicated. So let's start with his Q ability, Celestial Charge. He lunges forward towards a target direction and stabs, deals 35 damage, and if an enemy hero is hit, you channel a stun for 1 second and deal 70 additional damage when it fully finishes. And it can hit more than one target.
Right. So if you skewer them, they're sort of I mean, it's brutal. It's a, T for teen game, but you can imagine skewering 3 people and then he lifts them up and they actually collapse together as though the weight of them slid down the spear. It's
kind of morbid and cool. I like it.
It does use the gravity lapse animation, which makes them a little flaily.
It looks a little wacky, but overall I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Just because the utility of it is cool and good. And I also like the design that Imperius himself is at risk while channeling that stun. So yes, you stun someone for 1 full second, but guess what, Imperius, you're also standing still for 1 full second.
Right. You are definitely making a declaration to the teams, both teams, that you are going to be located in a space. Channeled is an important word here. You are interruptible during any point during this, either the dash to get the skewer or the actual lifting, and that would end the dash or end the stun. So mosh pits, you're not gonna stop those. Another important thing about this, which had a lot of people confused, including myself, is the entire spear that appears on the ground is a clickable length. So it's not a ridiculous range on this thing. You'll be able to go over walls. You can use this to escape from terrain in tombs. I went over a wall and then jumped back over it with my cooldown 6 seconds later or so, thanks to talents. That's a good use for it and will give you some mobility and help catch you up. But also, if you target somebody beyond your range, if you think this is like a slide into them spear, it's actually targeted on the ground. If you want to hit a guy in melee range, you need to click him in melee range. Otherwise, you will spear through him and end up on the other side.
Yeah. The first one of these I tried in try mode. I missed my target. I went over them.
It takes a minute. Like, you think skill shot, it hits the first thing it comes in contact with. If you want to skewer the tank, but also the support and the assassin in the straight line behind him, you click on the tank, and then you get all 3. And then they collapse together.
Yeah, but I think that actually makes this a significantly better ability, because it means if you do not want to hit the tank in the scenario you just brought up, you can jump the hell right over the tank and target a squishy.
Right, if you're working with some sort of special scenario, let's say, Stukov has a heal that whenever someone is stunned, it heals bonus. You may not want to hit the frontline tank that has that heal on them and skip past them. Or, hell, you don't even want to stun anybody. You're using this for escape, so you select the maximum range to move through everybody and get yourself out.
Yeah. Very cool, very unique ability. I like it a lot. It's also worth noting that you cannot use his W ability, but you can use his E ability.
Yes, and more on that in a second, but you are sort of locked out of your heroics as well, which are aimed abilities, so it would be a little convenient and a little nice if you could land the stun and then have squared up in a 1 second stun of your own making your ult.
Yes. Yes, indeed. So that's not going to happen, but that's all right. You're stunning them for a second, and you can stun more than one target. If they line up like, I don't know, Nazis in The Last Crusade?
Okay, right.
On the tank. Bullet goes through.
What's that? Or I guess they lined up in, they like lines. You've seen the pictures. They love lines. Because it happened in Raiders of the Lost Ark too.
It did?
Yeah, the lightning. It shot through.
Oh, well, that's lightning. Okay, gotcha. Well, it's chain lightning at that point, Kyle.
I guess at Fort, it really didn't matter, but they were in some amount of straight lines. They were staggered stadium style, so they could all see. But
sir, I'm talking about Imperius. You're talking about Thrall. Two completely different heroes here.
Well, that was a lot of stacks of crash lightning right there.
To everyone who's on board with the heroes and Indiana Jones references, we should be friends.
Thank you for following this far. There is a fabulous level 1 quest for Impaling Light, and if you're you're familiar with things like Alarak and hit many heroes to complete a quest. Johanna's got a really brutal one of these because it's on Punish, and hitting multiple 3 heroes, 4 heroes with Punish is kind of rough. This is actually really easy to do. You can complete this in the middle fight, skewer 2 heroes at the same time, reduce the cooldown, skewer 3 heroes all at once, get an additional cooldown. You will complete this in the middle fight, the way people clump up. Now, with time, people may Kael'thas around and be like, Imperius, watch out, no straight lines. But day 1, great level 1 quest, very completable.
Yeah, and that's not the only straight line you need to be avoiding. You also need to be avoiding Imperius's W, Solarian's Flare. It's a fiery wave that just fires out from Imperius in a straight line. It deals 100 damage. Enemies that are hit by the center of this ability take an additional 50 bonus damage and are slowed by 40% for 3 seconds.
This is your Raynor penetrating round lane clear when they're walking towards you before they collapse into their 3-1-3 sort of formation. But it is expensive. 60 mana on this guy. You will lose to those Sonyas if you are using this for that lane clear purpose. This is a pursuit spell, ultimately. You use it for a snag to get them slowed, to line up for your Celestial Charge, maybe to stay with them during your Molten Armor.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was the combo that was shown in the Spotlight video. And I think one that we're going to see in play as well is leading with the Solarian's Flare, slowing them down so you can line up a perfect spear.
Like we do with Skeleton Kings, hit your slows, then aim your important stunny skill shots, like the Drain Hope for Skeleton King.
Yeah.
This is a good way to do it.
Yep. And a talent I'd like to point out, it was also mentioned in the Spotlight, is at level 7 Blaze of Glory, where it leaves a line behind after the fact, and after 2 seconds it explodes, dealing additional damage, which this is just build your own Kerrigan combo as far as I'm concerned. So if I slow them and I land my impaling blade, they're going to then get hit. Sorry, I guess it's called Celestial Charge, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. And it's such an expensive spell. I think the W build is going to seduce a lot of people early on. It is a cool ability to leave that trace on the ground, much like you do with your Volskaya robot. And then it explodes after the fact. Looks sweet too. Big old gash on the ground. It doesn't apply any talents. It doesn't apply your mark. Maybe a trap.
Maybe. But I like
yeah, good looking one.
I like Kerrigan combos. His E is called Molten Armor. This is the ability that you can activate while you're stunning someone with Celestial Charge. And it looks a whole lot like Arthas's AoE, but it does not work the same way. It only lasts for 3 seconds. It kind of shrouds Imperius in fire. And it also reads striking a nearby enemy for 19 damage every 0.25 every quarter of a second, and Imperius heals for 100% of the damage dealt off of Molten Armor, and it heals double versus heroes. So this is your main regeneration ability.
Very Sonya-like in its way. You are going to walk out into that lane. No heroes available. You're gonna feel it. You might break even if an archer locks onto you. Not gonna swing back into things. But if there's a hero in the area and you're getting good connections, these will all focus into them prioritizing heroes and get you a pretty decent heal to sustain yourself through a team fight. It will attempt to divide itself evenly between available targets. So if you are standing in the middle of the 7 minion lane minions, it'll go clockwise. Little missile, you deck, dealing cards. Everybody gets one. If you're doing this in a hero area, same thing. So same amount of missiles, no matter how many targets there are. If there's one target you're dueling with, you're going to maximize that single target damage.
Yeah, just more focus on his hero fighting abilities. The same thing you were talking about, how his W, you're going to want to clear lanes, but you're going to burn through mana, and you're still going to lose the fight to Sonya. I think the same thing is happening here with Molten Armor.
Again, 50 mana on this one, so pretty expensive. Seems like at 40 mana, you'll be able to be doing your stuns most of the time. Kind of do that loop you do around the objective, hide in a bush for half a second, get that 40 mana back. Okay, I can participate again. But getting to that 50 mana, and certainly your W is going to cost you a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, but I like this ability and in kind of team fight, especially chase scenarios, it just makes perfect sense to me. Plus, again, a reminder that you get a 40% slow for 3 seconds off of Solarian's Flare, and how long does Molten Armor last? 3 seconds.
There's a bit of a dance to this when we get to the trait.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about heroics first. The first heroic is Angelic Armaments. You summon a ring of blazing swords, and it grants a 1,000 shield for 3 seconds. Again, 3 seconds seems to be the magical duration for Imperius here. The way that this works is that if the shield lasts the full duration, meaning your enemies don't burn it down off of you, so if they haven't burned through 1,000 hit points in 3 seconds, the ability can then be reactivated within a 5-second window, and it will launch 6 swords towards wherever you aimed this. It is now a skill shot, and each sword deals 140 damage to the first enemy hit. This does a good amount of damage, Kyle.
Yes, this is Li Ming's magic missiles. You'll be familiar with this sort of delay. It's a pretty ability. People are talking all about the wings. They're upset about wing size. I want this thing to flash a little more because it is a cool ability and it's a little tame. But I get it. There's a lot of visuals. These are swords. Here they come. But I'd love some more flames on them if we may.
As someone who wants to play Imperius a lot, I would like it if they made it more subtle so people don't damage me when I pop this.
Fair enough. These are on that Li Ming delay. Think of it feels just like your mirror ball. You have these 5 that spawn in a straight line off of you when you cast. You can't cast it during your stun, but you can cast it where you think you're going to get the stun, which is really the best way to line this up. You can also Cho'Gall this, and I mean that with Shadowbolt Volley. I found this to be a very useful ability when sieging, because you want a team fight, you want to get that keep. Nobody really wants to go in. Hi, big old shield, let's go. All right, shield's gone. Everybody's collapsed in. Massive damage to one building. Granted, it's not a kill. Will people question the value? Surely. But it's a very effective way to use both parts of it. And I would expect, much like Cho'Gall, we're going to see this used for siege damage in the future.
Well, and the cooldown is only a full minute. This is not some crazy 100-second cooldown we're talking about here. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to use it in a siege scenario. I mean, especially if you won the team fight, what is there to use it on?
Right. You want a team fight without using your heroic? Heck, you're up anyway. You got a full minute to get over there.
Yep. Win more. It's fine.
There's also a pretty sweet level 20 on this. Heavenly Host. You give the shield a 600-point shield for 3 seconds to nearby allies, and then they get a free mini missile of their own that they fire as an auto shoot, a seeker, if you will.
This is a supremely cool talent.
Yes, I think just about everybody on the internet went, oh, Lost Vikings, we got to run Lost Vikings.
Yeah. Don't get too weird on me.
Right, the range on this is pretty short. It feels like about a 4. Imagine Cassia getting an auto attack on you, right? You're in Zarya range for getting beamed. They need to be in the business a little bit. And oftentimes, if you're popping a shield for the benefit of allies, Vala's running for the hills, or you're just straight up steamroll winning, and little mini missile swords aren't going to matter in the first place.
Yep. I'm thinking dive comp. I want to do this on a dive comp. Everyone's around anyway. It takes advantage of that small range. And also, what dive comp wouldn't like some extra shielding?
Yeah.
But I love this heroic a lot. And I'm looking forward to playing it against actual players in queues that don't take forever next week. But there's another heroic, and it's Wrath of Imperius, which is going to take me forever to pronounce correctly, but we'll get there. Anyways, after a 3/4 of a second delay, you charge in a target direction and lift the first enemy hero you hit into the high heavens, a la
Kirby?
Johanna. Kirby. Yes. Yes, I was trying to tie it into the game we're talking about, but yes, yeah. Kirby from Super Smash Bros. Is 100% correct. But it looks a lot like Falling Sword from Johanna when she just poof, just flies up in the air and frickin' disappears. Or Alexstrasza, or you pick your flying up into the air hero of choice for the for this comparison. The only difference is that Imperius takes an enemy with him. This is so cool. So grabs the enemy, flies him up in the air, and then after 2 seconds, just slams the target into the ground. It deals 375 damage. It stuns them for a second. Oh, by the way, you can move around again like Falling Sword while you're in the air. So in those 2 seconds, you can move the target you grabbed wherever you would like them to be, as long as you can get there within 2 seconds.
It's pretty speedy. Johanna's a bit slow. You also kind of have momentum from where you are clicking at the time of Heavenly Sword. We've all been in that sweet scenario, like, get them! And you clicked forward, but oh, wait, you're trying to change directions. You got to go backwards now, and that really doesn't work on Johanna. This thing is, it's fast, it's free, it's a Zergling. It has maximum acceleration built in. You're already free to move when this thing is cast. You might stitches someone behind a wall, as shown in the video, but I expect we'll see things like, Malfurion roots. Cool. Drop them in the roots when you land.
Looking forward to this getting in the game, dude.
Worth saying that it is only the target that takes damage. Only that one target you grab. So don't grab someone and then try to slam them into the team. Nothing happens. Just the one target takes the damage. The wind-up is interruptible.
The wind-up. So that
yes.
that 3/4 of a second delay before you actually whew,
exactly when you're
forward.
Looking beauteous, your fist is kind of up. That will put you on 10-second cooldown if you're mini stunned or interrupted in any way.
So like Captain Falcon before the Falcon Punch.
Exactly.
Cool. We'll just keep the Smash Brothers analogies rolling.
But once you are punching, once you are flying forward, that is unstoppable and can move through terrain. So you can go through pits. You can grab an ETC who's doing a mosh pit, go over the wall, which really is probably much like Diablo, one of the real situations you'll be using this in a defense. Let's say you have Battlefield of Eternity boss. It's summoning down. They're all lined up behind that gate, and Vala's going, pew, pew, I'm safe, pew. Dash through the great gate, grab her, bring her to your side, and bye-bye Vala.
Yeah. It's a gnarly ability. Very bringing something cool to the game. That again is similar to things we've seen before, but works different in application.
Basically, the name of Imperius here.
Yes. All right, so let's get into the trait. I feel like it's going to take a little bit. The trait is called Valorous Brand, and the way this works is that each basic ability, so your QWE, marks enemy heroes hit for 10 seconds. So we've got stacking marks again. Kyle, we just got stacking marks added to Sylvanas. Orphea brought stacking marks, but these work very different, especially from Sylvanas. There's a little more in common here with Orphea, but still pretty freaking different. So what happens with these marks is that basic attacks consume them, all of them. So if you have one mark up, if you have 2 or 3 marks up, doesn't matter. It consumes all of them, and you deal 30% bonus damage per mark. Reminds you a little bit of Orphea, right? Okay.
This is clearly one of the design team's new little knobs and toys. I think they were probably planning Imperius, Orphea, maybe around the same time. And like, hey, we have another version of this. Okay, well, we can put that on Sylvanas. This will be her thing.
Yeah. So what makes this unique to Imperius is that the brands themselves, the stacks, are unique to Imperius's 3 basic attacks. So the Q, the W, and the E are each their own unique stack, and the user interface for this, UI for this, is actually pretty damn cool. So if you say you hit somebody with your W, Kyle, 3 stars appear on the health bar of the enemy hero you hit with that W. 2 of them will be grayed out, and the middle one will be lit up because you hit them with the W. So the Q corresponds to the leftmost star, the W corresponds to the middle star, and the E ability corresponds to the rightmost star. And they'll light up or not be lit up depending on what you hit them with. And each of those stacks has their own individual 10-second window. So
Right.
one can fall off, but the other couldn't, and it's just very unique.
There is some immediate optimization when you start thinking about these stars, and that's just in using them. Molten Armor does mini missiles, bunch of them, shooting targets. If you're in a 1v1 scenario, you are going to reapply repeatedly your E while you do your auto attack. This is a great way to get some serious damage out.
Yeah, it's a little. And when you think of it that way, it's no, I guess it isn't. I was going to say it's a little bit like follow through on Thrall, but it really isn't. But if you are used to trying to time your basic attacks, it's cool. But in reality, because of the way E works, you could just hit it and just make sure you're landing your basic attacks.
The one important thing that can be optimized day one for you players out there of Imperius is E is activatable. Molten Armor is activatable during Celestial Charge Stun. That's a bit of a trap. Don't fall for it, because you are now applying marks that you're not going to use with auto attacks. If E hits more than once on one hero and you didn't get an auto attack in that in-between, you are missing out on some bonus damage. Also, just like our big, slow characters, we have spell resets. It's a little bit of a technical thing, but get an auto attack, cast a spell, resets your auto attack animation, get an auto attack. So there's some really cool ways to weave these in and have some real optimized play.
Yeah, and that's the thing you need to keep in the back of your mind when you're playing Imperius, is that while his trait is built around stacking, this trait does not stack in a traditional sense. Because if you use Q or E multiple times on the same target, if you're not consuming each stack, you're not getting anything from it. You're just resetting the stack.
Yeah, you did the math on this and found that it was static. You hitting one mark and 3 marks is just 3 marks worth of that one damage.
Well, to a certain degree. I mean, you're still getting a lot of extra damage if you have 2 or 3 stacks versus 1 stack. It's just so it's a 30% bonus damage. Orphea actually works the same way. So if you have 1 chaos stack and you do your damage, I think, what is it, 50% bonus damage on Orphea?
Yeah.
It's calculated against like your base, what your basic attack would have been if there were no stacks for all 3. You're not getting in the case of Imperius, you're not getting a 30% bonus on the base amount and then an additional 30% bonus on the altered amount. It's all calculated against the original. So in the case of to get boring with math for a second, let's use level 1. Your basic attack does 127 damage. Your 30% bonus on 1 stack is essentially 38 damage. And so if you had 3 stacks, it will just do 38 plus 38 plus 38 plus the 127.
So we're not exponential, which is really important.
Yes. But Orphea works the same way as far as I understand.
So, of course, burst damage is surprising, and healers can't catch it all the time, and you'll kill someone before they can react and hit some armor ability. Burst damage is great. Having 3 stacks is going to be great. But the cardinal rule here seems to be just don't reapply a stack you haven't used. If he's got the W mark, don't give him another W till you get that off him.
Right. Now, it's unlikely you're going to find yourself in a scenario where that's going to happen because of cooldowns and whatnot, but it could happen.
And the same thing goes for like Kael'thas and all sorts of wizards. Like, there is plenty of reason why you should be like, Living Bomb, Flame Strike, give that time. Living Bomb and get some auto attacks in. But there's always going to be the scenarios where you're just going, and just throwing everything you can. I got the kill. All right, no one cares.
Right, and you'll find yourself in that scenario with Imperius. You land a 6 stun, you're just like, oh, they're almost dead. I'm just going to pop my E. I don't care about optimization.
Yeah, or you're dying and you need the regen. There is options here, but it's a good cardinal rule to have, and you'll find a lot of optimization. And the reason I kind of harp on this is because the mana cost is so high. You will be out of mana if you go spammy. This is a little bit of a URL situation.
Yeah. So I like his trait. I think it's unique. It's just that you need to be aware of everything we just talked about to really get the most out of this trait. It's very easy to leave damage wasted.
And there is a very powerful, very self-controlled build that I found myself gravitating towards each time I played him. And it really involved the level 4 Battle Hunger, heal for 82 health, every Valorous brand mark consumed. Well, that's an auto attack. You're in control of that. Mini missiles, people can run out of those. Molten armor can be a little questionable. You're not sure what that heal is, but turn around and get one little smack. That's something you're familiar with. That's an idea across many characters, your Fury variants. And then level 7, Holy Fervor, you have a cooldown that cleaves. And if your mini missiles are hitting multiple people, cleaving away that's a big stack of health that you are obtaining. And it looks good.
Yeah. Yeah, I like your build here. For those unfamiliar, we have show notes for the podcast that we produce, and Kyle has his build chilling in here. So head on over to amove.tv/ITN, look for the episode 250 post. The show notes are always linked. It's a Google Doc link all the way at the bottom. Let's go find it there.
So here's the big question. Why would you Imperius, though? Is it a level 1 giant killer? 3%. That's pretty cool. 3% giant killer, level 1. Maybe they picked a Yrel or a Blaze. Maybe they banned Malthael. Maybe you're not that good at Leoric, but you love Imperius. Are those two heroes better at this job in the first place at level 1? Why is that there?
Why is what?
A level 1 giant killer.
Oh, level 1 giant killer.
Is that the reason to take him?
It's certainly interesting to me. I enjoy percent base damage out the gate.
At level 13, I found that with my Cleavy build, I could do a Merc Camp like the Khazra, the Goatman spears, decently by myself. But it was mana expensive and health expensive. He's not a Sonya. You know, you're not going to solo lane, free up your lane, and then go take a Merc Camp. So why'd you take Imperius instead of Artanis or Sonya? You want to engage. You want to do a dive team. Why didn't you a Uberak?
Well, that's a hard question to fight against at this exact moment in time.
Sure, and in case you're not kind of catching on here, this is a really good bruiser to back up someone like a Uberak. If you go in and you have Imperius right behind him, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah, and that's where I'm landing on him, at least at launch, where I am placing him in my mind in a comp is I think I might want Imperius in a comp when I would be considering a Thrall.
Yeah.
Because he's a solid body, can hold a target still, brings good damage, self-regeneration. While I've been standing here comparing Imperius out the gate to Arthas and Kerrigan, I think it's a bruiser for all intents and purposes.
It's a regen-based bruiser, though, and he is going to suffer to any sort of healing reduction, whether this is new Stitch's talent, Ana, of course, being one of the big ones. But you do make a point there. Thrall's root is less flashy.
Yes.
People run Zul, Kel'Thuzad, and there is something about this that could make landing Frost Novas very easy, because they are actually on display in the air and then collapse together.
Yes. I also think because of the nature of his Q ability, it becomes a bit of a map pick. So on something like Volskaya or Tomb of the Spider Queen, we're going to be fighting in chokes quite often and likely to get additional value out of the pierce on his Q ability. It's another thing I look at, and I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but the shield heroic has me very excited, and I think makes him a bit of a trap target. He already has built-in regen, and then at level 10 you can get a surprise 1,000 hit point shield
on a decent cooldown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he lands. Also worth noting, no non-hero talents. There is nothing on here that increases damage to non-heroics. So no battlefield per se.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it's easy, I think, right now to look at him and think he's a bit of a win more hero. But you say win more, I say dive comp, and that excites me.
Yeah.
I enjoy a good dive comp. So, yeah. So my immediate reaction is more from a personal, I really like this kit. This is the type of hero that I like to play, and less so, I think he's going to come in swinging into this meta and excel.
I think a lot of bruiser players, such as yourself with Sonya's in your pockets and all that, are going to find an easy home on Imperius.
Yeah, he feels like he just clicks for me.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm happy for you all. Like, I really am. Like, Mal'Ganis, Imperius, it was a long time without a I don't quit, you walk away, I don't kind of hero.
Yeah. Yeah. And I haven't really gotten on the Mal'Ganis train yet because it's still just too rare for me to get him. So you know what's going to happen? Imperius probably going to be super popular. Probably going to take some bans or picks, and I'll finally get Mal'Ganis regularly.
Mal'Ganis ain't performing so hot anymore either.
Yeah,
he has his quick match spot, but
yeah, it's it happens. But
I can tell you, Bronze is horrified of the guy, though. When you look at statistics,
horrified of Mal'Ganis.
Yeah,
it makes sense. That sleep is scary, dude. In the same league where Kael'thas is king.
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense to me. But the hero, I'm very, very ready for. So I've also got links in the show notes just because I personally find it so amusing. Go and read and check out all of the conversations about how small Imperius's wings are that have been happening on the Heroes subreddit. I've thrown a few links in the show notes. I find this so amusing, Kyle.
I feel like it's a bug. You see him in the try mode in the shop, I should say, and these things are looking pretty decent. You know, they're folded backwards, but we have become accustomed to some rather curious wings. You could even say, I mean, Tyraels are the type that would be knocking over lamps and spinning around your leg, and he'd be like, "Oh, sorry, I wasn't aware." Malthael has that, like, when he goes into his form, his tormented souls, they're just oppressive and scary. These things are a little dinky, particularly in the live game. But then you hearth and you see what they could be, and I think that's where the drama's really happening. And we're seeing, how cool he could be looking 24/7.
To weigh in on this extremely hard-hitting topic in a game that is clearly struggling for dramatic conversation. To me, it just kind of looks like the perspective it's at in his normal kind of walk cycle.
Yeah.
I think they're just angled in a less than dramatic way, but we'll see. This is the kind of thing I expect it to be addressed, and then I expect a spray poking fun at this community meme.
Oh, I agree 100%. I mean, these like look at him in the skins. They go to his ankles, and then you switch over, and they're at his buttocks. There is something that is causing these wings to be smaller than they should be, but it sure was dug at. This was a good excuse, because we've heard, I'm going to call them excuses. I know full well that the limitations of a design team, but we've heard the excuses from Blizzard that things like Rag can't get skins because they're effects heavy. That when effects become part of a look of a hero, it is intensive to try to replace them. We know that this is not modeling. These wings are effects. The effects team doesn't have the resources anymore to fix wings and make them look good. It's kind of the drama that broke out around this topic and why it became so intense.
I think it's a little silly.
I think if we change the name on Rainer's trait, this community has moved mountains. While they may be pointless mountains, we have moved them before, and I can assure you that these wings will be increased in size.
Don't you dare call the changing of Rainer's trait pointless, Kyle. That was the Lord's work.
These are all victories. I think there's a lot of gamer dads, growing up in the world right now, looking at things like Spider-Man, the controversy around the Sam Raimi costume getting released, and you're like, no, you can't. You can't do, like, there's going to be people who are saying, don't increase the size of the wings. Blizzard, do not reinforce this behavior. You're rewarding complainers. I think this is good video game fun, as long as we're having fun with it.
I missed that entirely. I just noticed that the Raimi suit was in Spider-Man as I was playing it, and I used it a lot because I love those movies. Well,
they got trolled. They were called, hacks for not adding a classic Spider-Man costume to their game, and then they released it some 4 days after it reached a fever pitch. And the entire audience went, look what we're capable of. We have the power. We changed the world. They were going to try to sell us the skin, but they knew they had to give it to us for free now because we're powerful gamers.
I would just say, go look at Battlefront 2. That's a actual shift. Major changes to that game. There's a few other things on the PTR, Kyle. A few other heroes getting adjusted. And luckily, they haven't come from my Anubarak just yet.
No, these are pretty minor changes.
Yeah.
Abathur getting some evolved monstrosity love.
Yeah, the health has gone up a decent amount from 1,000 to 1,350. Basic attack went up. The health bonus per minion killed, however, was reduced, and the damage bonus per minion killed was reduced as well. But that just means you're getting more bang for your buck right out of the gate with evolved monstrosity.
Right. So I think the cool playmaker idea is that somebody's running away, goes past the minion wave, and whoa, I transform. Oh my God, the minions! It's corrupt. Oh, it's huge, and then it smacks you and you're dead. Rather than this thing having to farm, but then becoming a literal monstrosity that you cannot deal with and keeps limping away to regenerate because of Abathur's build.
Yeah. And then Arthas. Summon Sindragosa no longer disables enemy summons. Enemy summons are now slowed by 60% for 4 seconds.
Pretty big deal.
I feel like this is so directly targeted at me, saying, hey, I bet you're mad as an Arthas player about this, but as a Zagara lover, you're probably digging it. Like, I feel like this is a challenge to me to come up with a reaction.
There was a lot of counterplay in Sindragosa for Gargantuan and Water Elemental, and you would get in sparring matches with your enemy team. You go first. No, are you going to Sindragosa? Well, I'm holding on to my Gargantuan. Well, I'm not going to Water Elemental until I see Sindragosa. And you'd end up not casting ults, and then eventually you being the summoner will go, fine, it's so much part of my kit. I need this. And then he'd freeze it, lock it down for almost its entire lifetime. It would do nothing, frozen solid. The slow is really, really nice, particularly on Gargantuan, who isn't going to reposition a lot, who you're going to put over a building or objective in the first place. Water Elemental will feel this, but to me, this is so targeted to that exact situation. And while I have been frustrated in the past, I don't think Nazebo, the number one quick match pick right now, doesn't really need this help. There's every time I take Ring, I love taking Ring because it's easy and fun and it's a shot call. But my whole chat is going, Water Elemental, you're throwing the game. Like, there's the reason for this escapes me a little bit. Arthas, I feel like this was an interesting counter that you could actually go, summons, Arthas, how cool.
Yeah. I mean, that being said, 60% slow is still good. It's just when it worked the way it previously did, it's hard to not look at this as a massive nerf, but you bring up good points, and it's not something I feel particularly strong about.
Yeah, that's fair. And you every time I see you, you're doing ghouls anyway, so.
Yeah, because
the ghouls, yeah.
You know what I like? Not dying.
That was good. It's good.
I like not dying, Kyle. And then Diablo, level 1 Soul Shield. The Soul Shield will now dynamically update if Diablo gains souls while the spell armor is active.
Dynamics are good.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Now, before we move into strategy, Kyle, we want to thank those of you supporting us over at patreon.com/ITN. We spend a lot of time working on this show. And if you like it and you feel you get something from it, the best way to support us is over on that Patreon. And we really appreciate it, especially those of you sticking around in these uncertain times. Thank you for the support, everybody. And to thank some of our newer patrons, thank you to Lucas S., Jordan R., and Daniel P. Thank you for the support, you three. So check it out, patreon.com/ITN. Now let's move into this week's strategy segment.
Choose a talent.
Choose a talent.
Talent? Ah, that seems generous.
I have a PhD in PvP.
So it's a new year, Kyle. It's a new meta. Let's talk about what is going on. What have we arrived at after the 2019 balance update?
It's been an interesting ride. In particular, there is a big reaction to all the news we've been hearing about this game. And people who want to climb, people who believe themselves to be pro, were using a lot of heroes that had high skill floors, high skill ceilings, so they could outplay, outmaneuver, outwit their enemies. All the numbers we have, all the research I've done in HOTS logs and HOTS API has shown that those players have stopped playing. Those pro Junkrats, those Genjis that were going to eke it out, we're going to climb into Masters based on their Genji scope. But Genji, you've got a bad win rate. I don't, because I'm amazing. And I'm gonna carry because I'm a great Hanzo. But Hanzo's bottom of the win rate. You should pick something else. No, I'm gonna do it. That kind of tone is over as we've readjusted back into a more casual game. What has happened out of this is a huge spike in pick rates in just plain old solids. And some of them are definitely older heroes. But bottom of the barrel right now, Whitemane, Yrel, Hanzo, Junkrat, Deckard, Li Ming, and Genji. You know what that sounds like to me? A lot of hard work. And hard work isn't winning right now.
Now, to push back a little bit, some of those heroes is not necessarily news. Yrel obviously has seen a fall throughout the history of her inclusion in this game. But your Genjis and your Deckers have always seen for a long time, a sub 50% win rate, even though at the higher end, we consider them top tier heroes.
And there's a lot of heroes like Li Ming where the skill floor is based around choices. It's about targeting the right target in a team fight. You can think of this also as getting power from talents. If your hero's power is locked behind talents and levels, there's opportunities for players to make mistakes to pick the wrong talents, whereas someone like Raynor that we're going to talk about, he is the raw power. The talents help him out, they make him cooler, they adjust what he can do, but all of his raw power is in there from level 1. And without these climbers, what is actually happening, it's a rather fascinating thing, is these mainstays, mainly Raynor, Lili, Anubrak, Jaina, have become the number 1 picked heroes in drafted environments. And if you want to go and ban a Genji in your upcoming league games, you're taking a pretty blind shot in the dark that there's even a Genji player left. You'd be way better banning Jaina. You'd be way better taking Raynor. You think you're a great Falstad. That's cool. Falstad's doing well. Do you play Raynor, though? Because there's a damn good chance someone on the enemy team does, too. And you're now stealing a pick.
Yeah. Now, the only thing in that statement I don't necessarily agree with entirely is Genji. Because of certain folks I have played with, hello Daribo, recently, and have been playing with on the regular, that put me in scenarios, Kyle, where I play against folks who are better at this game than me.
Sure. Though there's skill still exists in this game.
Yes, yeah.
There's plenty of it.
Yes, but significantly. And Genji is that hero that in those scenarios, it seems like a major risk in letting through.
And this is, of course, all theory looking at numbers and research. What we can say for sure is that periodic catapults and the trickle XP, the mercenary changes, have had a bit of an impact on how players view the game. They have become more aware of lane clear, which it's something we wanted the game to teach everybody in the first place. And I feel like we're getting there. We're succeeding because early catapults push out. And because those lanes are pushed out earlier, people start addressing them earlier and build that habit into the late game of making sure we're maintaining our soak. Because soak has become more important, though, excusing a hero to go take that merc camp is still very difficult in lower leagues. It's a real puzzle, and you're going to confuse a lot of people. Because the lanes are getting soaked in the first place, the merc camps are getting cleared. They're no longer sneaking a building like they used to back now 2 years ago during the ammo phases.
Yeah. Anecdotally, I have seen more communication through chat, not voice, of hey, can you come cover this while I go merc? Or I am going to go merc. It seems folks more than before are communicating these laning shifts.
And we're also communicating proactively there that we need soaking. Soaking, I applaud those players, because yelling, soak, darn you, is useless. But saying, can you cover this? I'm going to go do something for the team is way more positive, and you're actually going to get a net benefit from that, a merc camp out of it. Also, with the trickle XP, the passive experience that you get from destroying buildings, characters like Genji are suffering when they access a building. Let's say, a 4v5 is happening at the bottom, but they're doing great. You're Genji, you're top lane, and minions collapse onto the floor. What's Genji going to do now? Grats? But Artanis, he can burn that down. Raynor, you right-click it to death and fire a Q every couple of seconds. You're going to get that building on Nazebo. But Genji cannot complete that transaction, meaning that building is taken 4 minutes later, which means the trickle XP starts even later. Less XP overall game. Genji has a decreased win rate. So we're seeing a really interesting parallel impact of these two factors. The 2019 update and a 2019 update, if you will. Yep.
No, you're right. We've kind of arrived, and this is I think what I was starting to touch on last week with the fact that the mages are back. Well, at least Jane and Kael'thas are back in tall order. We've seen Raynor stay on top after his rework and even after subsequent nerfs. Zul'jin has rocketed up to kind of give him an honorable mention there. It's like, so if you're out there thinking, okay, Raynor's working, heard on ITN, Raynor is good. You can see in the win rates on hot slogs. All signs point to Raynor works, which makes him a contested hero right now. Can't get him? Consider Zul'jin. His win rate since the change has skyrocketed.
Zul'jin is lock-on boy number 1 in my book. When he gets on a building, it's going to go down. And if you're Dingo in on a core, you're probably winning that game.
Dingo the core.
Dingo that core down,
every chance you get, you dingo that core.
Ain't nothing wrong. Do your guillotine, sure. But even so, your health's going down. Someone's poking you while you're dealing with a building. You're winning in that situation. Great times ahead. But, like we said with the Falstad scenario, Raynor is just a higher pick rate across all leagues. And you're going to be more likely to steal a pick over that Zul'jin, who I've been picking. Let's be passionate here. I've been picking some Zul'jin because I love him.
Thank you. Finally, the real Kyle comes out.
Right. But counter picking through your own draft is a really powerful thing to do. So let's talk about Raynor real quick, because he is really winning up. Again, not top win. Top winner right now is Gazlo. Really speaks to what we're talking about, which is when you get on a building, it's a dead building. But Raynor with games played is the highest win rate hero. He is the most solid pick for Battlefield of Eternity, even above Artanis. You're going to see a lot of fighting for Artanis. Artanis is great. I love him on that map. There's great opportunities for swaps. There's a solo lane. There's merc camps to be taken that he can do by himself just fine. Fine pick. But Raynor is going to be your number 1. And Exterminator, basic attacks deals 50% more damage to minions, mercenaries, and monsters. This increases to 100% while Inspire is active. This is a perfectly good excuse to avoid that Vala. And here's the real trouble about Vala. She informs a draft. You're just asking people to fight. You're bringing up politics at Thanksgiving. Don't. And it is dangerous.
And I want to stop you there, because that is essentially the through line through every hero we're going to talk about in the segment. They don't inform drafts. They don't tip the hand to your draft strategy. You pick Raynor. Cool. That tells me nothing. That tells me you play Heroes of the Storm.
Right. I'm a great Rhaegar. I'm a great Stukov. I'm going to do what I want. You pick Vala. You know what I like playing? I like playing I like playing some angels once in a while. And, you make a good battery, maybe. And no, I shouldn't. I shouldn't even have that opportunity to have that thought towards Ariel. But I'm gonna. And your team's gonna. And then someone's gonna go, oh, but Tassadar. But Zarya. Like, they're gonna get weird. You pick a Raynor, you pick a Lily, people continue on the track.
That's a good thought, because now you're playing mind games. You're saying that picking Raynor doesn't inform the decisions of your teammates, so they just pick what they like to play, which equals what they're good at, what they're practiced at.
Raynor's survivability also isn't tied directly to his auto attack, so there is some strong theories and thoughts out there that you'll see. Don't take Raynor into blinds. You're not butchering. You're not varying. If you get blinded, guess what? These bullets keep flying from the back line. It's not a huge deal. And let's talk a little bit about some talents you probably missed, since things have updated, been changed around over the past several months since the major rework. Unstable Compound is still really good. You were taking this because the auto attack build with Give 'em some Pepper was the best, but refocus on this. It's not only about the 10% slow. You see that 10% slow on your level 7, you're going, oh, but I have to do my slow talent level 1, so I do bonus damage. The real power here is increased area of Give 'em some Pepper by 15%. That is why you're taking level 7 with Unstable Compound. Your debilitating rounds at 13 decrease the cooldown of penetrating round by 3 seconds. That's a powerful talent, because at level 16, Paint 'em Red, damage of penetrating round increased by 50% and heal for 90% of the damage you deal to heroes. This is a huge spike in your survivability, and you're going to be tempted to go Bounty Hunter to keep these pretty pictures rolling, like my Anubarak Beetle build. Make it ugly. Penetrating round is what you do during a blind in the first spot, and if you reduce that cooldown, you're going to have them more often.
I like that you have Banshee never face check again.
Never face check again. That'd be my advertisement.
You don't have to do it. You can just check with your Banshee.
Banshee can fly on over there, look over the wall, come on back to you, use your alt click to push it out and summon. R click, summon it back with an alt R. Back and forth, back and forth. If you lose it along the way, be hard on yourself. It's good to have a Banshee alive. That's a long cooldown. People will want to kill it. But if it saved you from getting ganked, it's worth it. And there's nothing wrong with Hyperion. You're going down 4% win rate to a 51% win rate on Hyperion. Okay. Fine.
I'm still happy to see it.
Yeah. And it destroys a building. What we've been talking about here, lock on.
Yes, exactly. You want to secure buildings? Cool. That's what Hyperion does. But by the way, before we leave Raynor, because of the penetrating round, we have yet to really take a moment to talk about cursor guides being added to the game. Have you tried them?
I have. It feels like I'm playing an old arcade sniper.
Yes. Or like the old, I think the old like vector graphics Star Wars game had something akin to this.
Yeah. I
like it a lot. It has really, really improved my accuracy with skill shots.
That's awesome. For me, I haven't used it because it's too much clutter and noise, and my eyes are always looking at the sides going, what's that? I'm sure I could get used to it, but I see that a ghost image on the left, and I keep looking at it.
You know what I kind of wish they would let me do with it is I wish there was an option to have it only turn on when I'm holding down spacebar, because I don't know how much you use this, but I use it all the time to reorient my camera, because if you hold down spacebar, it snaps it back to center of your hero.
Yeah.
I do that a lot when I'm trying to line things up, because it just helps me. It feels more natural. So I wish that the crossbar would just come on when I was holding down spacebar.
I think that's a good request. I'd love a tuner so I can turn this up and down. If I could make it barely visible, but still enough for that ghost to trace it on the far edge, if need be.
Yeah. Or let me bind it to its own toggle button.
Sure. And that comes into another scenario that I feel we need, which is profiles for each heroes. There is a very powerful thing you should be doing on Raynor, particularly if you're doing a level 1 stacking quest. It is mouse and keyboard, or do options, gameplay, attack, move, target, point. When you are stutter stepping, if you misclick on normal attack move, you will attack the closest target. With this mode on, attack, move, target, point, you will attack the target closest to where you clicked. So you misclick that Ana that you really want to hit. Well, your mouse was still closest to her. You'd still make that shot.
Yeah, I love this.
But I hate it on melees.
Why?
Well, because I'm always using body blocks. So I'm clicking beyond the current. So let's say I'm dueling you on Butcher, and I've got a body block, and I'm trying to walk forward with you. I'm clicking out here, but now I'm trying to move towards that Ana instead of wailing on this ETC next to me.
That is a good point.
So I actually turn it off and on based on whether I'm melee or ranged. Dominant, actually, because I'm not doing it every time because that's insane. I should. That'd be the right thing to do, but I need stickers on my screens and all. There's enough. I got sticky notes everywhere right now. It's a mess in here. Like, I don't need that in my life. But I'd love if I could set this for range or melee dependent.
Fair. All right, now I think we can move on from Raynor. We've already talked about Anubarak, but Anubarak is very high in the win rates. Seems to be doing very well. He used to be a counter pick for me. I used to pick Anubarak when the enemy draft looked like it was necessary, that there was going to be a lot of spell damage coming in from the opposing team. That is no longer the case for me, Kyle. He is just a solid pick.
Absolutely solid. Also, Cocoon used to be a counter pick. Currently, Locust Swarm has a slightly higher win rate. We do not have solo carries like we used to when we would run Anubarak in that style. Anubarak also, a bit of a surprise here, is the #1 tank for Braxis holdout. Outside of something if you're cute with your Stitches and your Garrosh because the towers are so close. But Anubarak, really solid. My brain says no. I don't know. Standing on a point, shields, maybe it makes sense, but there's such cuter things than Anubarak Braxis, but he's doing really well.
It's very easy to land your stuns around that pad and to escape with your life thanks to Burrow Charge.
Same thing with Volskaya at the moment. So, but Anubarak, we talked about a little bit earlier. Ugly build. Regen Master might be a Braxis holdout sort of thing. Bed of Barbs, Subterranean Shield, Epicenter. It's a pretty clunky looking thing, but all these tools come together to make Anubarak a great kit.
They do. They just shore up all of his abilities, essentially, when you're not doubling down on specific talents. I would say I really like Locust Swarm. I like that it's seeing a surge in win rate because it means that I can pick it and not get yelled at. But I think it should be an informed decision.
Absolutely. And
Garrosh has just been giving me hell. You know what happened the second I switched to Anubarak? I could just turn Garrosh off.
That's a weird one. And it happens a lot of the time because Garrosh isn't what's causing the issue. It's the Garrosh throw into the Orphea that's causing everyone to die. So you go and web blast the Orphea, but everyone's getting carried by Orphea. So everyone's like, go get Orphea out. But you web blast Garrosh and the whole team is like, whoa, we don't have a way to engage anymore. I guess we all run away and they leave Garrosh for dead. It's strange how these things happen with Cocoon.
Yes. Yeah, it just opens it up. It's great. I love it. I love watching the actual reaction of your team as the Garrosh comes in and they turn away to get away from him, and then he gets Cocoon and there's that hesitation of, wait a minute, oh, we can just walk forward now. It's great. It's my favorite feeling in the game right now.
I think it might, and because I do the same thing with Varians as well. I think it might really come down to cocooning the target that is the wrong target to attack might be the best choice, because you are saying you can't mess with this now. Why are we all targeting Stitches? You know, let's just get rid of Stitches. Okay, now all 4 of those targets are killable because no one's going to attack the wrong thing. Everything's the right choice.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah. I can get it. That's a conversation for another day.
In a vacuum, it depends.
Yeah. Make a note of how we're in less of a double frontline meta at the moment.
Right.
Because I think that's the reason. Maybe that's its own strategy segment at some point. But let's also talk about Lily, who fits in here as it's just a backbone. This is like every hero we're talking about right now, they're essentially forming the skeleton of your comp. Like, they're just safe picks. They're not too flashy. I really do feel like every hero we're talking about, anyone can learn, anyone can become proficient at, and that's not me knocking the heroes or knocking anyone playing those heroes, because these are the heroes that I'm playing. But Lily fits into this, even though it's nothing really new. This isn't news out there if you've been keeping up on win rates, if you are a regular visitor of the HOTS API or HOTS logs. Lily has been on top forever. Tons of games played, very positive win rate, has just always been a safe pick.
But she's really running away right now on Alterac Pass and Volskaya, and that is because of free drinks at level 1. Healing Brew, healing a target under 50% health, reduces its cooldown by 1 second, and refunds the mana cost. Fights are a little long right now. If for heroes terms, I've heard a lot of people go into League and they're like, oh. But anyway.
Yes.
This is the talent that is making Lily sing at the moment.
It's a solid one. And then the last hero we definitely want to mention. We're gonna have some honorable mentions, but we got to talk about Jaina. We've danced around the Jaina topic all episode, especially when we got to Syndragosa and talking about Water Rally. But she's just a solid pick. She's very, very safe. And you mentioned her win rate against high mobility heroes.
Yeah, she's really punishing 2 heroes who like to get in real quick and then zip away. Well, you didn't zip away and you got rooted at 16. You didn't zip away if you're dead. If you got slowed by the water elemental, if you got slowed as you were running away, if you pop some shields in her face. Things like Diablo are really, really struggling right now. Garrosh as well. Jaina has Ice Block that avoids many of the pitfalls that you fall into against tanks. It allows your team to catch up if you get hooked, and Stitches is being played a lot in Quick Match. All these things add together to make Jaina a really good pick at the moment. And against those high mobility targets, she has an above 60% win rate. If we are re-entering these solo tank metas, just blowing up a frontline tank also isn't a bad idea. Water Elemental is going to be a little freer to use and get around. It could also just come down to a huge spike in her win rate on Ice Lance level 7. Hitting a chilled target with Frostbite reduces its cooldown by 2 seconds and restores 10 mana. Well, that's pretty darn good at killing buildings. That's a darn good Battlefield of Eternity talent. You may have noticed a bit of a pattern here. When Jaina gets on a building, it's dead. When you can lock on and actually take care of business, those are the heroes that are succeeding right now.
It's interesting that it also makes your what used to be Battlefield of Eternity specific picks. Not saying that Raynor and Jaina were, but we used to make picks on that map based on being able to kill the Immortal. Now it's almost one and the same. If you can kill an Immortal, you can kill a building. You're a solid hero right now.
We also used to talk a lot more about map picks because there were less maps. It was more of an extreme challenge. 5 maps. Oh, this map comes up. I've got a pocket pick for this because I get to play it so often. Nowadays, Battlefield Eternity pops up and the Raynor goes, I've been playing Raynor all day. Why would I switch it up? It's only one game.
Yeah. Yep. Jaina very high on the top of my list at the moment as well.
So honorable mentions to Zul'jin Falstad, which we already did, but Artanis Varian doing fantastic out there. Less games played, but still doing really well. And not informing those comps, Bruisers, of course. So Anubarak, you're getting to those last 3 picks, Anubarak over Artanis, so you don't have to have that, what are we doing for the tank? And, you don't want to really do the solo taunt thing. You don't want to do the solo Artanis thing.
Yeah. Varian is the one that's grinding my gears a little bit right now.
As in, like, he's in your face, or...
of all the heroes, it's the one that right now I go, really? That's what you're playing? You're just hoping to get ahead, and then you're just going to autopilot to victory.
You lock on with a little bit of Twin Blades, the highest pick for your talents there. You get the building, you win an uninformed fight, a level lead. It's ease of use, it's right clicks, and, Colossal Smash is good, and Taunt, I think, is a fabulous good time. And fun because of the control it exhibits on one character, but I can see why it's happening during this current game space landscape.
We always want to get ahead. That's the point. That's the way you win this game. So we're finding new ways to do that and stay ahead.
And Artanis, if you're not familiar, of course, it is that amateur opponent. There are other options. The win rate isn't incredible because he can still lose, of course, picking that. But you are getting up to that 54% just by selecting that talent over others.
Yeah. So I think these are all really safe picks right now. And also, just to reiterate, if you're picking these, there's a good chance you're taking a pick away from someone on the other team.
That's the big deal here. And might not be the bands, but, these combo together really frightening. You take 60% win rate on a certain map heroes, you put Raynor and Jaina together. Like, that's not just a cute idea of, hey, we got 2 high win rate heroes, aren't we great? Like, you were literally comboing into Raynor's bonus damage against slowed targets. Things are going to get a little crazy, a little fast. You get 3 of these heroes on your team, and you are well above 60% win rate.
It's solid. Can't argue with numbers that we have access to. So, anyways, we have a lot of this written down, by the way. If you want to check it out again in the show notes, check out the post for episode 250 over at amove.tv/ITN. And that's going to wrap it up for this episode, Kyle. First episode in the new year. Feels good. Feels good to be back. Feels good to do a proper strategy segment. We haven't done one in a little while.
Yeah, well, we've been focused on some other things, but it's good to get back to the game as it is. There is a human element to people. When they play something, they want to be good at it. And there's still a lot of people playing this game looking to climb, looking to have a good time. There's one big thing that we can request on that front. We want that team league combo. Reinvigorate the leagues by comboing them together. Give us that MMR. Give us that update now. But until such time, Team League is still pretty quick, and quick match is certainly quick and able to play.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that ladder change to come in, that ranked play change to come in. But they've told us it's still coming. Sounds like it's relatively soon. So we'll just have to wait until it gets here. In the meantime, if you like this show, if you enjoy Into the Nexus, if you enjoy what Kyle and I are doing and want to support us, patreon.com/ITN is the best way to do that. Huge thanks to our producers, Declan H, Cheesy Bob, Pathagos, and Crusader Dave. Thank you for the generous support, everyone. And everyone that has stuck around, obviously, since the news of what's been going on with Heroes and through the holidays. We really appreciate it. It means a lot to us, and it helps us a lot because this is a major way that we make a living. So thank you for the support. I'd also like to say that if you want to help the show out, tell your friends. If you know someone that enjoys Heroes of the Storm, gets really into it, and you think they might enjoy the show, tell them. Because we've been experimenting over on YouTube with shorter clips made from this very show, and it's doing really well. So it has reminded me that there's always new people that haven't listened to this before and may dig it. So if you want to help the show out, get the word out. So thank you, everybody, for doing just that. And before we go, Kyle, where can everybody find you and all the awesome things that you're doing besides Into the Nexus?
You can find me over at twitch.tv/Kyle Fergusson, where you can find Heroes of the Storm gameplay on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and sometimes Thursdays as well. New schedule coming. But you should also check out There Will Be Dungeons if you enjoy Dungeons and Dragons, a live recording show with the core guys from the core podcast. Scott Johnson, Bo Schwartz, John Jagger, and Kristen Ashton joins as we head into the wastes with our Mad Max fantasy campaign. It's unique for sure.
It's fantastic. We did a D&D one shot over Christmas. It's turned into more than a one shot. We're going to continue it via VoIP services with our one friend who lives in Los Angeles because D&D takes too damn long, Kyle.
Yeah, I did a one shot over the holidays. Another one of many. You get 2 puzzle rooms, 1 boss, done. You don't. No factions, no politics, no cities. You gotta really streamline, and that is a tough thing for new DMs because they go, oh, wait, there's a city. Well, I'll draw a map. Oh, if there's a map, there must be 5 dungeons and player choice. And no. You're trying to get done in 5 hours. No player choices.
Streamline it.
Streamline.
What's in the room? A single door
and a button. A button.
But it was great, and we're going to continue it. It's going to be a good time.
I heard from that DM directly that your character was a delight. That I helped design it.
So I had so much fun, dude. It was a blast. I got to rip the bar top off of a bar in the local tavern and throw it at enemies, and it succeeded.
Nice.
It was good. It was all I ever wanted to do as a barbarian. All I ever wanted to do was to throw a literal bar at enemies. And I accomplished
D&D's
that
got a
goal.
big resurgence. Thank you, hipsters, I guess.
What does?
D&D.
Oh,
Dungeons
D&D.
and Dragons.
Yeah.
It's hot.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. But my point being, I really enjoyed it. There Will Be Dungeons is a delight, and everyone should go listen and/or watch that. Folks, if you want to find more of what I'm doing, you can go find me on Twitter at Garrett Art, 2 R's and 2 T's in Garrett. I trust that you know how to spell art, and everything else I'm doing is over at amove.tv. I have a solo podcast called R2T2, a reference to the 2 R's and the 2 T's in the spelling of my name. You can find that by going and searching for R2-T2 wherever podcasts can be found. I did take the previous week off to just enjoy winter break with my wife. So the most recent episode is still the interview with Taliesin and Evatel, two badass World of Warcraft YouTubers. And I had a lot of fun making it. So go listen to that, and I will be out with a new episode very soon. So go subscribe to that podcast. But that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Into the Nexus. Kyle and I will be back next week with episode 251. And I hear tell that the internet's own Jeff Kanata will be joining us as well. And Kyle, we haven't had him on since HGC was canceled and all the Heroes Doomsaying began. So I can't wait to get his opinion on this zombie game. If it's a dead game, it's a zombie because it's still very playable, and I'm still very much enjoying it.
Roadkill because it's delicious?
Roadkill because it's delicious? What?
I mean, all the animals find it delicious. So are we the animals? Does that make us scavengers?
Boy, you took this in such a weird direction.
Well, it's the best way I can think of something that's dead that's fun.
Roadkill's not fun. It's sad.
But it sustains the environment, Garrett.
It's the circle of life with human interference, I guess. No, I'm not getting in on. I'm not.
What
getting
about the tree with the thorns that the birds impale bugs on? Because not only is it sustaining, it's useful. It's part of the ecosystem. No human interaction.
I'm gonna just end this analogy
right
now and bring the show to a close because I can't help you, Kyle.
All right. Take care, everybody.
See you next week. Good luck and have fun.